I just realized, reflecting on these past years, that I've been a rabbi, that every single one of my high holidays, without exception, has been chaos. Hear me out. 5 years ago was my first, you're getting ahead of me. My first high holidays as a rabbi was in 2017. Thank good. Well, y'all are good. So we weren't even in this building. 3 weeks before Rosh Hashanah, Harvey hit, and this room had 4 feet of floodwater in it. So we spent the entire year recovering from that chaos. High Holidays 2018, we were back here, and things were back to normal for, you guys, but I was pregnant. So pregnancy, especially a first pregnancy, I think, it's a huge change in your life. It's a bit chaotic. 2019, I was a new mom, so new baby equals chaos, especially that first year. Fall of 2020. We didn't so much conduct high holiday service as perform them for the cameras because the pandemic hit in the spring of that year. No one was here, you couldn't be, and nothing felt safe in a world pre-vaccines. That year was unbelievable. 2021. I think a lot of you know now, but what pretty much none of you knew then was that in High Holidays 2021, a year ago, I was going through a divorce. Even when it's amicable, divorce is inherently chaotic. It's an upheaval in how you've been living your life for the past however long. We had built a life together for almost 10 years, and teasing apart the threads that bound that life together, legally, financially, emotionally, it was really hard. Suddenly, nothing in your life looks the same as it had. You have to learn all new ways to do everything, the most mundane of tasks. In addition to all the legalities and the paperwork and the new expenses, it throws your life into complete disarray. I remember thinking, I wonder if anyone has ever just self-combusted from stress. It just felt like too much. It was too much to take care of, too much change, too much instability, too much emotional upheaval. It was just too much. You don't have to go through a divorce to really understand your life spiraling, though it does help. Because all of us go through times in our lives where everything feels unstable, unsure, unreliable. One could well make the argument that the past few years, a natural disaster followed closely by a global pandemic, economic downturn, social upheaval, etc., one could argue that the past few years have been nonstop chaos. And it's natural just to want all that to just stop. Just stop. Give us a break already. It's natural to want to go back. I hear people say this all the time. We really just need to get back. Oh, it's time to go back. And look, I'm the last person to tell anyone how to process their trauma. But I got some bad news for you. There's no going back. There's no going back. There's no going back because time doesn't work that way. Time only goes one way, forward. There is only before, during, and after. We all remember a time before the chaos of the pandemic. No one can agree if we are during or after it now, but I can guarantee you this, we will never be in the before ever again. While this seems like bad news, I have good news too. I realize it's a tad controversial, but it's actually good news. It really is. I think chaos is the norm. Because time only moves forward, so we're going to have to learn to live with it rather than fight against it. I think the natural state of the world might be chaos. Look, I don't understand entropy or chaos theory or any physics beyond the high school level. I can't talk about that stuff. But I do know the Bible. Bereshit bara Elohim, the very first words of the Torah. In the beginning, God created et hashemayim ve'et haaretz, the heavens and the earth. You ask any kid, what did God create? Everything, they'll tell you, and a lot of adults too. In the beginning there was nothing, and God created everything. But that's not what the Torah says. Not actually. V'ha'aretz hayta tohu v'vohu, it goes on to say. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was tohu v'vohu, meaning the earth was chaos. It's not that there was nothing before God created everything. It's that before we had the structure of the world, we had chaos. Good job. To me, it is clear a pretty fundamental state of the world is chaos. So to say, oh, everything's so wild now, is to deny something that our tradition teaches to be fundamental. That chaos has always been here. Sometimes it's less apparent. Sometimes our lives have more structure and feel more comfortable. But when our lives personally spiral out of control or society at large is caught in a collective whirlwind, that's not abnormal. It's just as normal as anything else. It's natural. And if you pick up a history book and you flip to any random page, I would bet any money there would be something going on that page. That at any moment in history, or at every moment in history, there has been war or disease or strife. That at any moment in history, somebody's life, maybe many somebody's lives, are being turned upside down. So maybe you find it somewhat comforting. Okay, it's normal, sure, but it's not pleasant, and that's true. Instability may well be the norm, and chaos predates us all. But that doesn't mean it feels good during times of great upheaval. In fact, it feels terrible. You don't want to live in a house built on shifting sands. And I would be a pretty terrible rabbi if I offered you only a very bleak problem with no promise of a solution. Luckily, Judaism offers not just the backstory of how our world got to be so chaotic, but also a tool for dealing with it. And since y'all are here on high holidays, I will give you some bang for your membership buck. And I will tell you Judaism's tool for dealing with the chaos. It is literally a tool. Who's ever been to the Kotel? Western Wall? Show of hands. Oh, some well-traveled Jews in this room. Even if you've only seen a picture, okay? You ever wonder how, in a world that predated computers and CAD and design programs, these ancient peoples built structures, magnificent structures, that still stand today? And not just that, but with perfectly straight walls. They used a tool called a plumb line. It's a simple thing. It's literally a string with a weight attached. You hold it up, the weight falls down because gravity does its thing. That's a straight line. Ancient Jews knew about the plumb line too because they built our people's most famous structure, the temple, now just the Western Wall, the Kotel. They might not have had electricity back then, thousands of years ago, no TikTok or Be Real or vaccines or the printing press, but they knew how to build stuff and how to measure a sure, straight, constant line. Lots of folks know. King Solomon built the first temple, Lucky Duck, most of us know his name. I didn't learn till I went to rabbinical school the name of the guy responsible for the building of the second one. His name was Zerubbabel, which admittedly does not roll off the tongue quite like the name Solomon does. Might have been part of the problem. Once hearing of this plan of this guy, Zerubbabel, the prophet Zechariah is ecstatic. The temple is finally going to be rebuilt. Mivaz Yom Ketanot, he says, who scorns a day of small beginnings? Samchu v'ra'u et ha'even habadil b'yad Zerubbabel. They will rejoice when they see a plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. He's saying, You may feel like you're small now, like your accomplishments are small now, like you're starting over from the beginning, like Zerubbabel, rebuilding after the destruction of the temple and the instability that followed that. But that with a plumb line, Even HaBadil, a source of constancy, a line of support, you will accomplish great things. When your life feels like chaos, like it's unraveling and spiraling, you are not powerless. You need a plumb line. The actions and experiences and people to provide you with a feeling of joy and consistency and safety. When things get to be a little too much, you need to ask yourself, what do you need to feel stable, whole, and safe? What are the actions and experiences? Who are the people who bring you happiness and wholeness? Who can you lean on? Who will tell you the truth of your power against the whirlwind that is the world? And then the tough part, you gotta seek it out. You gotta make time for those experiences, to take those actions, to prioritize those people who can do that for you, and get rid of the rest. If it does not add to your life, to your joy, to your growth, to your wholeness, get rid of it. If something brings more difficulty to your life than it takes away, get rid of it. If it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. This is not selfishness, because you can't get through this thing called life alone, and we are Jews, so there's no points for martyrdom. If you are struggling, you need a path, a way, a line, some might say, to hold that will get you through it. Yours may not look like anyone else's. In all probability, it does not. But you're not supposed to find the plumb line. You're supposed to find your plumb line. It's a huge responsibility, I know, but it will work to find what and who will be helpful to you, to get you through whatever it is you are dealing with, your personal chaos. And you need it, or you run the risk of being stuck looking backwards, wishing for what was, waiting for things to be like how they were before. But you know, if you didn't before, you do now. We never go back. Time marches in one direction only, and if you're stuck looking back, you will never move forward. So you have to learn to live with the inevitable chaos. You have to find your plumb line. I would have thought that Harvey, and then being pregnant, and then having a new baby, and then a pandemic was enough chaos for one lifetime. And then I had last year. And if you had asked me at the beginning of last year, do you think you can do this? I would have said, no, I don't think so. Because I felt like the ship in the Jonah story that we just read, being tossed around on a thrashing sea, about to splinter into pieces at any moment. But I didn't, because I didn't have only myself to listen to. I found my plumb line of people who had the ability to say to me when I couldn't say it for myself, Sarah, you can do this. We know you can do this. Who encouraged me to rediscover those things that bring me joy and gave me permission to do that which helps me to feel whole. And gave me a line to hold on to help me pull myself forward to today and beyond. I can never thank them all, and certainly never enough. Some of you are in this room, and some of you are streaming this, and some of you have shifted from this mortal coil. But I want you all to know that I don't think I can say it enough, how much you changed my life for the better during a time of such personal turmoil. There is not money enough to repay you. So I'm saying this now. Whoever needs to hear it, whoever is going through a really tough time at work or school, or with their parents or their partner or their kids or their friends, or who is wrestling with those big questions that shake your core, it is impossible. It's impossible that this is the first unstable time in your life. You have made it through chaos before. So I know, you can do it again. And if you want to say, well, it was different then. Back when I dealt with something this hard, I had a certain person who helped me. I had more resources. The circumstances were different. That might be true. But you do have something from then that helped you make it through to now. You have you. You're the constant through line from the past you who dealt with what had been unimaginable. So I say to you what those who are my plumb line said to me, you can do this. I know you can do this. Whatever turmoil you are finding yourself in right now, I know you can do this. You're going to do it with the help of your plumb line. And you are going to blaze forward into a future more beautiful than you could have ever imagined. I wish you a Gemar Chatima Tova. May you be sealed for a year of more ease than difficulty, more joy than sorrow, and blessings upon blessings upon blessings. Gemar Chatima Tova.